thank you very much for that generous introduction. But I think before I even get going, all of us should probably give Lori an incredible round of applause for her leadership. Huh? You know, I don't know about you, but when I think about this event, it's hard to think about spring without thinking about cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C., but I now think about WOTY here in New York City. It just, spring wouldn't quite be the same without it. It's a special event, and for me, it's always a little bit like coming home. There's so many, frankly, people that I consider family here. And those of us who have spent maybe a few more years than others in the industry, you can't help but walk around here and say, gosh, remember when we were, managers together and we used to do this and do that? And you see people who have gone through their careers and risen up to do so much. And most impressively, I just look at this room and I think we've got several thousand women leaders. And while we still have much more work to do, I've got to tell you, you are a great looking group. I could not be prouder of what you're doing. So please give yourself a big round of applause. One more, and then we'll get to the real reason for me being here. And I'm sure I'm driving the teleprompters crazy right now, so you may as well forget about it. But the next thing that I just want to talk about, frankly, is the privilege and honor that I think all of us have to work in this industry. And all of you go to work every day, ultimately trying to help people live longer, healthier, and happier lives. And I think it's a real honor and privilege to work in the healthcare space where we touch people in such a personal way. And not that there's anything wrong with selling cars or working on Wall Street, but the fact that we get to touch people, patients, consumers, and others in ways that, frankly, I don't think anybody else can truly understand until many times you're in a time of need is remarkable. And I am just so proud of our industry and the way that it's represented here today. So let's give our industry a big round of applause as well. So now the reason I'm really here. I have the honor and privilege of being able to introduce Denice Torres. And what a privilege it is. So I first met Denice about 8 years ago. And at that time, she came to Johnson & Johnson, and she joined us actually in our CNS area. She had had a long, distinguished career at Eli Lilly, and we were fortunate enough to pick her up, have her come in, immediately have a big impact, something that was very near and dear to her heart, that she cared dearly about. You could immediately see the impact that she had on the brand, but on the team, on all the people around her. She then had an opportunity to move into our medical device group, where she worked in our biosurgicals team, who are bringing a number of new, very innovative convergent technologies to market, combining devices and biologics, and quickly learned that market, transferred her skills over, did an amazing job. And then it was about 4 years ago when she got the infamous call to probably take on one of the biggest challenges of her career, when in the midst of a major recall, some pretty significant challenges, she was asked to take responsibility for our McNeil Consumer Healthcare division. And there's very few women, in fact, I think there's very few men that have worked across so many different domains of healthcare, pharma, devices, consumer. And in each case, she has left an imprint on the business, on the people, that frankly is indelible and leaves a mark for any future leader to live up to. Now, what you may not know about Denice, and by the way, I find this interesting with a lot of leaders, they tend to surprise you and inspire you because regardless of the situation, regardless of the challenge, just when you think, oh my God, how are we ever going to get out of this? They somehow find a way to motivate you, to touch you, to do things that you didn't think you were probably capable of doing before. And that's Denice. So it starts with she's somebody who's got an intellect like a steel trap, wicked smart, but at the same time has a source of compassion and passion It's a rare combination. I mean, she's got an undergraduate degree in psychology, went to Michigan in her free time, picked up her MBA and her JD, just a little bit educated. But all you have to do is spend a few times around her, and while her sheer intellectual capacity can certainly be seen in everything that she does and the way that she can determine strategy, finance, operations, whatever challenge she's dealing with, as important is the way that she connects with everybody in the room. She's competitive, but she's always about a team. A really noted athlete in a number of different areas, softball, back in high school and college, but then today even, if you happen to check your iPhone at Johnson & Johnson at about 5:30 in the morning, there's about 450 women who are motivated by Denice doing this sounds like WOTY, but it's actually workout of the day that she's leading, cheering them on, getting them engaged about their health, getting them engaged about having energy, about showing up in the right way of that day of being a leader. You know, at the same time, while she's competitive and she always wants to win, it's never about Denice. It's always about the greater calling. As she'll tell you the minute you walk into her boardroom, you know, there is no I in team. And with her, it's all about bringing the right people together, the right combination of skill sets, diverse people who have different ideas, don't look, don't sound, don't talk alike, to really get the best ideas to push forward. And last but not least, she's a realistic optimist. You know, at McNeil, there's a famous saying since Denice has been there. She says, put the moose on the table. She wants the hard fact, and I'll never forget another great example of Denice. A couple years ago, we were at one of our senior leaders meetings, and you know, senior leader meetings at Johnson & Johnson can sometimes be a little stiff, I will admit. You know, business casual is, do you have a dark blazer on or a light blazer on? And we can laugh at ourselves too. And so we're in for the infamous Q&A at the end of the meeting. And you know, we're kind of doing the wrap up, and I'll never forget Denice's hand goes up in the back, and of course all of us who are on stage are going, oh my God, what's she gonna say now? And she stands up and in front of everybody she goes, you know, I think some of what we just talked about is a bunch of BS. And she didn't say BS. But then she quickly went on to talk about why she thought this was a really important time for the organization. And to be able to do that with a team, but at the same time inspire them and show them that, you know what, there is light at the end of that tunnel, that you can get through it, is that unique combination I think that you really look for in a leader and we hope for. So I could go on and on with Denice stories. She's real, she's authentic, she's comfortable in her skin, and in the end, she makes a difference just by the way she touches so many people, not only around Johnson & Johnson, but around our industry. And while I think we have a few other people here that maybe want to expand on some of those thoughts on Denice, so let them tell you for themselves.
In this quest for us to achieve our goals, the reality is if we can help other women get to where they want to get, that is fulfilling.
Denice is the kind of leader that everyone wants to work for.
She has a warmth and engagement and authenticity that's really rare.
She's strategic, she's a great operator, she's a great leader of people.
Denice, I would say, not only sees everyone in the room, but she has a genuine desire to know and connect with everyone in the room.
She has always the courage to go for big things. The vision she laid out for the McNeil business is a bold one, but she is courageous in what the business can be.
She's great about stating what the vision is and then mobilizing people and empowering people to help achieve that vision together.
She's the embodiment of the credo because every single day she asks the question, are we doing the right thing for the patient and the consumer?
The best thing that Denice brings every day to work is her ability of being successful by being herself.
She's really interested in the people that she works with, and she's the kind of person that wants to help others along as she's working her way along too. She brings out the best in Sierra. She is a great mom. Those two are two peas in a pod.
A lot of us like to laugh, but something happens, we walk in the door, and I say, leave your personality in the car. Working hard and having fun should not be two separate things.
I think she has this joie de vivre for life, and I think that she embraces people and situations and opportunities in a way that's really inspirational.
It's just being a great leader. She doesn't care what color you are, what walk of life you are, who you are, as long as you have the right moral compass and you're going to do the right thing every day.
Denice is clearly a role model of what a great business leader should be. But more importantly, I think she's a very competitive professional, a very inspiring professional, but a person who's a great individual as well. She's a role model on many levels, no question.
Please welcome the 2015 Woman of the Year, Denice Torres.
That was something. You know, I didn't expect, first of all, Alex, thank you so much. The words coming from you, such an incredible leader, such an inspirational leader, such a real leader, that everything that you see with Alex is so genuine and it's so touching. But that video, I have to say, you know, to see all of these people that you've worked with over the years, I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank all the members of HBA and the HBA leadership and all the winners today. And I want to thank my J&J family for coming here and to see you guys getting off the bus and taxis and planes, trains, automobiles, right? It's absolutely incredible. And my friends and family here that really travel, because you guys mean the world to me. You know, I reflected so much about what I was going to say. I typed some stuff in, put in the teleprompter, and yesterday I went to the teleprompter and I was like, I don't think so. Right? And what I want to leave you with today, and while it's so important for us as women to be represented at each level in organizations, why? Because we came here to make a difference. We came here to make a difference in the lives of those that we have the privilege to serve in healthcare. We need to be represented. And at the same time, we need to be strong. We need to have the courage. We need to have the boldness. We need to learn from life lessons of others. And so I want to take, if you'll indulge me, just a few minutes, and I will tell you my story. I know everyone's going, well, it's going to be more than a few minutes, Denice. But here she goes again. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. And if anyone knows Gary, Indiana, that's something, because it used to be the murder capital of the U.S., certainly home to Michael Jackson. But growing up, I grew up in a very blue-collar neighborhood. Across the street from us was a trucking garage, and next door was a Careful car wash. Careful spelled with a K. And I think that, you know, sums it up. And what my parents, my dad's Hispanic, my mom's Polish, such different cultures, and what they really wanted for us was to have possibilities and opportunities. And, you know, I always say that when I was born, you know, my parents took the birth certificate and wrote in the address line, "You are going to college." That didn't really happen, but that's how it was. I have a brother and sister, and my parents sacrificed everything. My dad worked in the steel mill for 30-something years, and my mom became one of the first school nurse practitioners in Indiana. She was like the, you know, version of Maude, if anyone remembers that show, right? And so really, you know, very strong. I did 13 years of Catholic school, which, you know, also has a statement there of, you know, understanding uniforms and all of that stuff, which I totally revolted against through the rest of my life. But you know, going through that, I have to tell you, and for all the women there that are coming up, is that I was motivated by two things. One, this strong sense of wanting to accomplish, and the other thing, I was like Forrest Gump, running down the street, a sense of anxiety and a fear. And through my whole career of looking back now, of saying, my gosh, you know, on one hand, thinking that I could be 2 levels above and I should be 2 levels above, and then going through tough times and you're like, oh man, I hope I don't get fired today, right? So you have both of these things, and then channeling. And the reason that's so funny is because it's true, right? Thank you. So, you know, going through that, and you're going to school, and I'm doing marathons and whatever, because it was never enough. And so many of you know that feeling of going and going and going, and there's the high of it, right? There's the high of it, and then there's like, whoa, I'm getting a little tired here, right? I'm got myself a little slack here. So on one of these trips, I had gone to law school. I go into a law firm. I'm the third woman, 50 attorneys. So I step into that law firm, and you know what? You know how they go, apples and oranges are different? I mean, it was like a pair of shoes and like a, you know, $10 shoes and a Prada handbag, right? I'm so different. I walk in and they're, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not fit in here. This is a very, and no offense to attorneys, but and I mean that, kind of, but you know, the thing of, I was like a team person. I'm going like, hi, right? And so people are like, billable hours, please, right? So I go in and I'm like, I do not belong here. So after 18 long months, I learned a valuable lesson, which was, you know what? If you don't like something and you're passionate about it, make a change. And so, you guys, I quit. I had a 50% pay cut. I fell in love. I got into, you know, advertising and marketing and strategy, and I fell in love with it. I go back to business school, and I'm like, this is it. I joined Lilly. So I'm from Indiana, right? And so I joined Eli Lilly, so my friends, hello. So Eli Lilly, and I go, and this is some time ago, right? So I go, and this is where the Catholic school thing comes in, and you guys know this. I come in, and like the first thing I see is the big bow blouse, the Talbot skirt, and I'm like, oh, come on, right? That was the uniform. And I thought to myself, somebody's gonna get hurt with that bow. It's gonna be on a door, right? Like, what the heck? So I put the stuff on, and it was just like, right? And the guys, I felt bad for the guys, because and you guys know this, just to get up and go to a meeting, you had to put your jacket on, right? And so through this whole approach, I thought to myself, my gosh, what energy are we leaving behind? What energy? So you know what? I joined Lilly. I loved the work because I love healthcare. I love it. And the possibility of impacting someone's life, of changing a life, of improving a life, I so wanted that. But I still had this feeling like I don't belong. Well, one of the reasons I felt this is before Ellen. This is before Tim Cook, right? This is before Anderson Cooper. I go to this outward bound trip, and I had 7 days, and I'm on top of this, you know, mountain. I have some solo time by myself, and I just begin to cry. And it was the first time, really, the girl from Gary had gone hiking. So I had this, you know, it was a mountaineering, so I had this backpack at 60 pounds. And I'm like, this backpack is heavy. But the reality is my backpack was so heavy. It was filled with so much baggage and things that I pretended to be or thought I should be, and the anxieties. And on that mountain, I said, that is it. I have to empty this backpack. And that backpack has become very symbolic for me. I write this note to my parents, dear Mom and Dad, I am gay. This is before email, so I have to wait for the letter to come, and I wait. I see my parents at my sister's, house, and I walk in the house and I'm crying. And my mom says to me, "Honey, what's wrong?" I said, "Did you get the letter?" She said, "Honey, we've known that since you were a little girl." Yes. And I said, "You could have told me." My dad said, "I always want you to be proud of yourself." So lo and behold, I meet Kim, my spouse of 18 years, and we decide that, thank you. We decide that, we want to have a family. And so, again, this is 14 years ago, and I'm in Indianapolis, and I'm pregnant. So I walk into the corporate setting, and at some point, it's, you start to show, right? And I tell my boss, and he says to me, "How did that happen?" Right? And there was this very awkward, face red, and seriously, and and we looked at each other. It was unbelievable. And but I want to tell you something, that what happened I was 31 weeks pregnant, and this so changed my life. I ended up getting a virus, and at a meeting at work actually, and then what happened is that at 31 weeks of pregnancy, I did not feel well, and within 24 hours, I actually had to go, talk to my doctor, and they're taking a little bit of time, and then what happened was the doors swing open, and I am whisked down the hall. They're cutting my clothes off, and giving me an epidural. They took some other woman and threw her off the operating room table, and my daughter, Sierra, she was not expected to live. So she also had this virus. She had swelling of the brain and heart. Her lungs weren't functioning, her kidneys, high blood pressure, all this stuff, right? So my girl's a fighter. So, a month later, we do get to go home, and I knew that there would be, and I wanted that girl, and I was like, whatever comes with it, just let me be her mommy. Let me be her mommy. So, as time played out, we found out that today, Sierra's 14, she has cerebral palsy, she's nonverbal, she's still in diapers, and, in a wheelchair, and still watching Blue's Clues, and I think when she's 30, we'll still be watching Blue's Clues. But I will tell you, she is a joyous girl, and every morning she gets up laughing. We hear her, we have to get her out of bed, and she is laughing, and all of her physical therapy, she gives her best. And there was something that my mom said to me, is like, nobody wants a pity party, right? And it's so easy to say it's a tough situation, and I'm gonna feel sorry for myself. And it was I think because I wanted that girl so much, that remember the first time that I got diapers, I was like walking down, the ShopRite, and I tell you, I heard, John Travolta music, and I was like, I'm getting diapers, right? Because I wanted to be that mom, but what I have learned from her is how much attitude is choice. That we can choose in the midst of challenge, and I've been through all kind of turnarounds, that we could sit and feel sorry for ourselves, or we could be numb, or we could say, I would be grateful for what I have. I will be grateful, and how much life and attitude is a choice. And Sierra has taught me that over and over again. She has taught me the gift of empathy, of listening, and that eyes are indeed the window into the soul. So as I have moved forward in my career and have had the absolute pleasure to work at wonderful companies, and especially to work at Johnson & Johnson over the last 10 and a half years, to have leaders like Alex, to have a mentor like Sandy Peterson, to have someone to say, do you know what, I see you for who you are. And I not only accept that, I embrace it, I celebrate it. So today I celebrate you, Sandy Peterson. I celebrate you for seeing the possibility Alex Gorski for being the leader that you are, and saying that diversity in style and approach and all that is not something that we accept, it's something that we must seek out. So today, as I think about impact, as I think about influence, as I think about all of you, I want to tell you, be badass. I want you to be badass. I want you to be bold. And for all of you, and you know who I'm talking about, when you're at home and something goes wrong, you're not messing around, but get to work, and what happens? And you're like, what? Find your voice, because it is there. And when I would say to myself, ooh, I feel a little nervous, but I would say, Sierra's mom's not nervous. Sierra's mom's a toughie. And I began to see all these different sides of who I am. And I went from the journey of self-acceptance to self-celebration, because I will tell you, my competitive advantage is me. So, in closing, I celebrate all of you, and I ask you to dream big. Dream big in your professional life, dream big in your personal life, and I will tell you, going through change, I have taken on all those tough assignments. And when you say like, hey, you know what? Was it worth it? In the moment, hell no, right? But over time, the skills we build, the tenacity, the resilience that we build, it is worth it to challenge yourself. And more than anything, please, please enjoy the day. Because one day turns into a week, turns into a month, which ultimately turns into a lifetime. Put it all together. Enjoy it, make a difference, and celebrate you. Thank you so much for this honor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much.
Okay. What'd I tell you? Is that real or what? So, Denice, we know that you probably think you've been swimming upstream once in a while, based upon those great, great stories that you just shared with us. But we also know that in our midst today, we've got somebody here that has also swam upstream a little bit. And in fact, I guess there are about 25 million people around the world that cheered for a swimmer named Diana Nyad as she walked up on the Florida beach, and she was the first person to ever swim all the way from Cuba, 110 miles. And I'd like to think I'm a swimmer. That's a swimmer. And she had sharks around her and all kinds of stuff. So really an incredible example. And we know that Diana's first words as soon as she came up on the beach were, never, ever give up. And Denice, of course, became a huge fan of Diana's during that crossing, and they've struck up a friendship since then, and Diana's also become a huge fan of Denice. So let's give Denice a big surprise and a big welcome for Diana Nyad.
that Henry David Thoreau quote, which goes, when you achieve your dreams, it's not so much what you get, it's who you become. Well, today, your entire industry, the biggest award there is, you're getting that. You get a lot, you deserve it all. But these people stand up for you. All the people in your life stand up and applaud you because of who you are. You are ferocious in doing the right thing, in insisting everybody around you does the right thing. People ask me every day who I admire. And I do. I admire Michelle Obama and the teenager Malala and Martina Navratilova, but you know who I admire? Denice Torres. Oh my gosh. All these words that Alex and all your colleagues use for you, warm and real and authentic and passionate and compassionate, you are who we admire. And you're a leader, and we're lucky. The world at large is lucky to have you.
Who do we influence? Well,
Thank you, Denise. Congratulations. Thank you, Diana.